fire their lasers and those blow up in their face, and yet they're fucking surprised, you know? And I'm like, what the fuck? What happened? Like, where did the logical shit go? So, like, you see what I mean? Where it feels like there were two different writers who, one knew what the fuck they were, like, they were trying to salvage things, and the other was like, but we got popular off the stupid bullshit, though. You know? Like, I don't know.
And that can happen, too, with, projects.
Yeah, it can.
For example, on the Dragon Ball Z Blu-rays, John Bergmeyer, who also voices Tien, and was one of the head writers, talked about how, like, they had, like, different writers writing for, like, certain episodes, like, based on their strengths and weaknesses, and his job in a show or a project that cares about things being quality, his job was to make sure that it all matched with what they wanted. Whereas here it kind of sounds like they didn't do that. And
they basically just were kind of like, write this scene, and then they would write it, and then if it didn't fit, oh fucking well. You know? Like, that is what it feels like. Like, I didn't bother to read any of the credits, so I don't know if that's actually true or not. So don't go saying I'm saying that's a fact. I'm just saying that that's what it feels like, you know?
Right.
But that said, though, there are strong parts of episode 3 because, like, part of what gets them in their dire situation is Keith, you know, he just literally became leader, and everyone is already pressuring him. The next year, they're like, quick, tell us everything to do, right? And so he's like, okay, you want me to tell you everything to do? Well, then everyone's just going to act like me then. And so he fucking gets everyone into a really fucking dangerous situation by being, like, you know, too hot-blooded, essentially. So, hey, established character flaw. Fine. Great. Awesome. And, like, at first, I thought, you know, is this a little out of character? Because, like, one thing I highlighted in Season 2 was how Keith did eventually kind of mature. He kind of learned to let his anger go in the episode I liked, right? But then I thought, he literally just lost his best friend, you know? Like, not even a week ago. So I think a lot of us would be really fucking pissed at the world, you know? Like, in that situation, you know what I mean? Especially with all the stuff going on. So, you know what? I gave it a pass. I was like, you know what? Fine. Makes sense to me, right? So, I've noticed some people post, like, oh, but he became, like, old Keith at the end of Season 2. But I was like, yeah, but then you think about everything that happened, and, you know, fine, whatever. Glad they gave me the Xanax. Is that a joke about you? Is that a joke at your own expense? Because, you know, Wise, we can talk about it. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Wise, do you need a poo-poo?
But yeah, and what's also funny too that I want to point out about this episode, and also pointing to the fact that they're just copy pasting too, is there's a section of this episode where Allura starts to mimic her 80s self, actually, again. Basically she gets her ass kicked in Blue Lion, and she's like, guys, I need help, and she, like, goes spiraling into, like, this pit. And it basically, the whole section is to highlight that she literally just started piloting Blue Lion, and she doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. That is, again, a point straight out of 80s. Because, and it's also ironic, too, because if you were to, I've highlighted how the people behind the show have been like, 80s Allura was just this weak bitch who didn't know how to do anything confidently, and she never grew as a character. She just existed for men to save her. It was really sexist. And I'm like, but she got better, though. Did you not watch past the first episode where she piloted Blue Lion?
Not to mention the, sorry to cut in, but not to mention the whole new person going into something new and, like, messing up for the very first time. That's a pretty common story trope.
Yeah, it is. Like, but again, it's ironic because they're using the exact same justification as the 80s, but yet, I imagine if I were to go up to them and interview them, they would still act like they were so much smarter. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just funny that way.
Yeah.
And it just gets more and more here. And, so yeah, I was even talking with Rob about this, and I was like, all of their good scenes are pretty much straight out of the 80s. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Plagiarism.
Yeah, like, did they watch, like, after season 2, did they actually finally watch the 80s show and realize, oh wait, there was actually, like, character development and shit? Like, oh my god. Like, you know, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the hell you're even talking about there, Wise. But, I like anime where the main characters get kicked around sometimes. Yeah, it's very logical. But yeah, like, and it's not even, like I said earlier, it's not even just the 80s, Voltron that they're ripping off from, which, I mean, you could also make the argument is, well, how much of a rip-off is it really if it's a reboot? But that's like a whole nother fucking can of worms I'm not going to go into. You know, as a friend